Howdy. I wanted to talk a little bit about part 7 of the project. This is the first part where you're actually going to be completing this part. Up through part 6, I've done that for you through writing the objectives. But now starting part 7, you're going to develop assessments. Part 8, you'll do an instructional strategy. And part 10, you'll actually develop your learning unit. So I wanted to go through this with you so you know what is expected. So part 7 is where you develop assessment instruments. Okay, so if you've been following the project, hopefully if you haven't, you need to go back and look at parts 1 through 6 because each week builds on the previous week. So this week we're at part 7. So up till now we've taken on a project for TBCC, where we're going to be teaching international students some pre-interview skills. Okay, so at this point we've done a lot of work already. We've analyzed the situation. We've wrote an instructional goal. We analyzed the goal. We came up with goal steps and sub-steps and subordinate skills and entry behaviors. We've analyzed the learners and the performance and learning context, and then wrote the objectives for the training. So the next step is to develop the assessment instruments based upon the objectives that were developed in part 6. So you won't be writing new objectives. You'll be using the objectives already written in part 6 and developing the assessment instruments from that. Okay, so the first thing is we need to look at the learning domain, and we need to match the assessment question with the learning domain. So if you remember, we've talked about learning domains in the past, and Gagne identified 4 main learning domains: verbal, intellectual, attitudes, and psychomotor. Okay, so it depends what your learning domain is. It depends what the best assessment will be. Okay. So you can look that over. So you'll need to write an assessment for each objective. Okay, so these are steps 1.0 through 5.0, including the goal steps and subordinate skills. So you'll have 21 assessments in total. You don't need to write one for the terminal objective. So just concentrate on steps 1.0 through 5.0. Okay. And also, very important, all your assessments need to be able to be done in an online environment, because our training is going to be using PowerPoint 365, and it will be deployed on a learning management system in an online situation. So we can't do assessments that can't provide immediate feedback and can't be done online. For example, we don't want to have an essay, for instance, because that can't give immediate feedback. Okay, then we want to evaluate the congruence. We're going to do a congruence chart where we're going to list our step and our objective and our assessment, and just make sure that it makes sense, that the learning domain from the objective makes sense with the learning domain in the assessment. We'll go through that real quick. Okay, so you have the list of objectives from TBCC. Okay, and that's on an objective sheet, which is, see if I can get that here, which is in the assignment link. So here is the objectives for before interview section of training. Don't worry about the terminal objective, because that includes all 3 steps of the training. We're only concerned with the pre-interview. So you'll be writing an assessment for steps 1.0, which includes 1.0 through 1.6. Okay, here the objectives are written for you. Step 2.0 includes 2.1 through 2.3. Step 3.0 includes 3.1, 3.2. 4.0 is 4.0 through 4.4, and 5.0 and 5.1. Okay, so there are 21 in total, so you'll write an assessment for each step and sub-step. So in other words, you're going to write an assessment for step 1.0, step 1.1, step 1.2, and so on. Okay? Okay, so for this particular deliverable, we're concentrating on practice and post-test assessment. And the great beauty of this is that you will use these when you do your learning unit. So you're going to develop your assessments here, and when you go to do your learning unit, that will already be done. So you're just going to put them into the PowerPoint 365 environment. Okay, so to begin this, we open the file with the objective, so when we just went through, copy the first objective, and then answer the following questions. Okay, so I will open it up, copy and paste the first objective. Now, according to the objective, what is it the learner will need to do? Okay, so I want to go through that. What conditions will be needed? What conditions will need to be provided for this performance to occur? Okay, what type of learning domain is covered? You want you to say it's verbal, intellectual, psychomotor, attitude. What type of test items needed? Okay, if you say it's going to be a multiple choice test item, then you will then tell me what kind of test item it is, and then you'll create the item. So remember, they have to be able to be given in an online environment and provide immediate and automatic feedback. That's critical. Okay, so when you answer these questions, create the assessment. Actually put the assessment here with the answer. Okay, you're only required to create one assessment per objective. You can do more if you'd like, but you don't have to. So here's an example. But let me go, let's see, I think I can find a better example. I'm gonna hang with me for a minute. I have too many screens open. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure that I have that right here, but let me go here. There are two files with examples, okay, in the assignment you can go to. Okay, so here's an example from a different project. So the objective says, in a simulation, recruiters and technical staff will make and receive phone calls and leave messages scoring at least 90% on the satisfaction checklist. Go through the analysis. Step 1. What is it the learner will need to do? They'll need to score at least 90%. What are the conditions the learner will need to make and receive phone calls and leave messages? What's the learning domain? This is intellectual. What type of test item? It's going to be multiple choice. And then here's the actual test item with the answer. Okay, and these are available, like I said, in the assignment for you to look at. Here's given a ringing office telephone and script. Learners will answer the phone by saying a greeting in their full name and have it be audible and with a friendly tone. Okay, so you go through the analysis. What is it they'll need to do? What are the conditions? Okay, you have to write all this out as part of the analysis. Here's the test item. Okay, drag each of the following statements to the correct place, so on and so forth. So you kind of get the idea of what's required there. Okay, so go through this analysis. After you do the first one, copy and paste the next one and do that one until you've done all 21. Okay, then you get to the design evaluation chart. This is where we're going to check the congruence and that things make sense. At this point, this is just a copy and paste. You have the skill step, you have the objective, and you've written the assessments. You're copying and pasting it into a chart. Okay, so you'll have 21 of these with the objectives and with your assessment. And then you can look across and make sure it makes sense. Okay, here's an example, partial example of a chart. Okay, let's see, let me go back if I can. not there, to here. Okay, so if I keep scrolling through this example document, you can see they have some great assessments here with images. Okay, so I encourage you to read through that whole thing. Okay, but if I go to the end, here's their design chart. They've simply copied the step, copied the objective, and copied the test item. So you can see here, it's just a copy and paste sort of exercise, but it forces you to look at it and make sure it makes sense. Okay, so go ahead and look at that if you could. Okay, so remember, this is an online training here in red. These assessments have to be able to be done online. You have to actually create the assessment. If you have a multiple choice question, make sure you write the question with the answers. And since it's online, learners need to do the assessments and receive automatic and immediate feedback. And that's what we're going to be programming into PowerPoint 365. So the better you do here, the easier it's going to be later, the less work you'll have. Okay, so I'd look at the examples and review everything. Okay, so the main thing to keep in mind is these things need to be assessed online, so objective questions work best. You can do fill in the blank questions if there's a way to do those, but look through the examples. I think they give you some great ideas about what you can do. Don't wait to do this. This is going to be very tedious, and you don't want to wait to do it. It's not hard. It's just going to take a while to do. Okay, and if you have questions, please let one of us know, and we'd be happy to help you. If you want to write a few questions and send them to us and say, does this look right? We would be happy to give you feedback. Okay, and maybe that's a great way to do it before you do all 21. So do a couple, send them, let us look at it, let us give you some feedback. Okay? Well, good luck, and we look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thank you.